The gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 4 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 3865, the Stop Targeting of Political Beliefs by the IRS Act. Last year, Northeast Ohioans and Americans across the country were deeply troubled to learn the IRS abused its power by targeting conservative groups. Many in Ohio's 16th district, my district, contacted my office to express grave concerns about the lack of accountability and transparency within the IRS. Not only did the federal agency violate the public trust, it infringed on our First Amendment rights. The Ways and Means Committee began investigating allegations of potential political discrimination within the IRS nearly 3 years ago. What was discovered is disturbing. The committee found evidence that conservative groups were targeted to an extent far beyond what was initially reported. As part of its ongoing investigation, the committee requested and reviewed hundreds of thousands of internal IRS documents and interviewed dozens of employees. Recently, the IRS published draft rules that would essentially authorize the continued targeting of political groups. These rules represent a disregard for the liberties outlined in our Constitution and demonstrate the dangers of a growing federal government. IRS actions bring to light just how rampant abuse is within the administration. The American people will not tolerate it, and neither will Congress. This legislation is common sense. It will require the IRS to halt this rulemaking process until the committee completes its investigation. It's critical that the committee gathers all the facts before the IRS implements these rules, which were created behind closed doors. That's not political. That's just common sense. There should be no controversy at all. This legislation builds upon a bill I introduced last year that would specifically spell out that any IRS employee, regardless of political affiliation, who targeted a taxpayer for political purposes could be immediately relieved of their duties. It passed the House with broad bipartisan support. This is not a partisan issue. Whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, above all, we are Americans. Targeting anyone based on any affiliation goes against the very principles this country was founded upon. Americans of all political beliefs deserve to know that they will not be targeted by their government for political purposes. I thank Chairman Camp for his hard work on this important legislation, and I urge my colleagues to support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Ohio.